This video is sponsored by Huber Engineered Woods, the makers of Advantech subfloor. In this video, I'm going to do more than just unload the lumber truck. By the way, this was the entire house lumber, because lumber prices were going up. So I think about 3 weeks before we actually started this project, we took delivery of the lumber. You guys all know how crazy lumber prices got spring of 2021 into early summer of 2021. Anyway, in this video, we're going to cover squaring and snapping lines for the mudsill. Then we're going to frame our pony walls in the Crawlspace. That's right, we work on a Crawlspace here. And I'll go into a little bit of what we did differently this time than we normally do. And we're going to roll joists and get the floor framed. So buckle up, because it's the safe thing to do. Okay, so that was with me not even setting anything.
So, showing
this is the Stabila, that's right, that's the correct pronunciation. The Stabila LA180 laser layout station. If you've watched our previous videos, you've seen it. I am really good at adjusting the dial and locking it in very quickly. We square all of our mudsill using the laser. It minimizes walking back and forth, and we always know that it's dead on the money. So that longest line was our reference point. We set the laser to that, then Kyle goes to the other end. Now let's just say, and in this case it was because that was the biggest square. But let's just say Kyle was a little off. Before we snap lines, then I can adjust the laser to what he wants me at, and then we would just go to the other side and remark that. As it was, we didn't even need to do that. The basic principle of square and parallel is that now that we have our biggest square, that's a 90-degree angle, then that means all north-south lines are parallel off the back, and all east-west lines are parallel off the side. Because our first angle was dead on the money, then that means every other wall that are parallel to each of those respective lines will also be dead on the money. Very simple. This is like the first thing I was taught when I came out, and I got to hold the dumb end of the tape, which is, by the way, a big responsibility, because that guy, anyway, you know why. He always has to hold it exactly the same way, otherwise things can get way off. So there we are with the 100-foot tape. Kyle and I just work our way across the foundation. Once everything is laid out, then we snap all of our lines, and we are guaranteed perfectly square and parallel. But now, having said that, to achieve that, we're probably fudging numbers. So let's just say that front to back it was 44 feet. We might be 39 foot 11 and a half. We could be 40 foot 1/4 inch. We're gonna be parallel, but we're gonna make it look a little better on the foundation. Trust, hey, we know the foundation, guys. This is just what you have to do. They look a lot like us, and they work in the rain a lot. And so the framers just have to make up for the foundation guys. But it's the same people. The same guys did the foundation as the framing. That is the Dude Tools deep socket for impact drivers. It's like 80 bucks, it's not cheap, but we've had that for probably about 15 years. If you use an impact wrench or an impact driver, only go finger tight plus 1/3 to 1/2 turn. That's what the Simpson Strong Tie catalog says. So basically, once you feel it torque down, you're there. Stop. We used to need cords to do this kind of work, but not anymore. Pretty impressive if you ask me. Oh, how I love the Max High Pressure HN120 concrete nailer. These walls didn't need bolts. If they did, we'd be using bolts. So don't get too hot and bothered about that. I'm driving nails into concrete. So the Max High Pressure system, which you can read my review at JLC online, 500 PSI system. Yes, we can drive nails through wood into concrete or even steel. Since all of my layout is coming off that back wall, the same wall that we previously laid out off of, I want my interior shear walls to be able to stack. So that's all I'm doing here. Happy Tuesday, everybody. What was the start of this playlist? What'd you base it off of?
I think I just went to R&B funk.
Nice. So here's what we did differently this time. Normally, we pour pier pads. I think I covered that in the previous video. We went with strip footings this time. It is stronger. It's a little bit more concrete, but it's a whole lot easier for everybody. It also meant that we could use up all of our footing boards. So they got used one time for footings, and now they go into our walls. So we save a step by not having to tack those out of there. So what we do is we run string lines, dry lines specifically, across the shorter walls first. And I go ahead and just take measurements. We could do it with the chalk line and touch the wood, but because all of our footing boards were different lengths, it was just easier for Kyle to set up with sawhorses, and we just measure them to fit. Really simple. You can see the process. He knows what I need as I go. There's really nothing to this except for make sure that your walls stack or your studs align with above. Now I have a shear wall there. That's what I'm working on in this particular video clip. So the reason I waited on that was now I can run a dry line from the existing pony wall to the front foundation and go ahead and dial that in. That's just one way to keep everything nice and flat. We had, oh, I forget how many shear walls in this crawl. I mean, you're gonna see it. But basically, as I work my way out, it made sense just to sheet the wall while we were there. I think it'll make sense as we go through the framing. If you're not familiar with shear walls, basically those carry the lateral loads from the roof all the way down through the foundation to the strip footing. It's what we have to do here in earthquake country. You're hot.
Hot. What you're looking for is right in here. You'll see some of the grease squeeze out. That's how you know you got it. Right there. I don't know if the camera can see that, but there's some up there.
Also, Kyle's making a ton of noise.
Yeah, Kyle needs to shut up.
Shut up, Kyle. Shut up, Kyle. Side to side, the 42 foot of the building, but then we run one about the center point front to back, and we cut a stud at 3/16 high because the strings are going to sag somewhat. In fact, here, let me show you a clip. Down.
I'll be serious for once.
No, you were good. Thanks, bruh.
You don't know what it was?
Shane, you look awfully sexy in those new nail bags.
Is it weird that he said you're sexy?
No.
Kyle just works his way through the cut list. I go ahead and put nervous trawl, which is a PVC membrane, and I drape it from the mudsill over the concrete, and that way our Doug fir top plates can butt nice and tight to the concrete but be separated by a barrier. So Kyle's just kind of keeping track of the scrap and the smaller pieces that came out of our footing boards, and then I just work my way toenailing, and then to let him get ahead, I go ahead and grab top plates, I lay them out, and basically you can see that he and I have worked together for so long that neither of us really stops. We just kind of leapfrog and overlap each other. It's partially my job too, as he's in the mode cutting, Shane's drilling for Simpson Strong Tie Titan bolts for those shear walls, is I'm also keeping track of making sure layout stacks and also tracing all of the point loads. And so everybody's got their job, we just keep working. Enjoy Kyle's whatever that was, R&B, retro R&B playlist. I don't know. It is a beautiful spring day, that's for sure. I guess I should probably explain a little bit better what we're doing. So these are called pony walls, at least in our area. You can see in the back though, we did have one girder and post. That's how we normally frame our floors. And then they have to be positively connected to the pier pad through hardware. It is way easier to do the strip footings. It's more productive for us, we save a step. Whatever we have extra in concrete and rebar, we more than make up for in labor. Structurally speaking, those walls did not need to be 2x6. In this case, it's just a rambler or a single-story house, but it allowed us to use up those footing boards, as I mentioned. The major advantage is that it's a lot easier to walk these walls when we're blocking. It also gives a little bit more bearing to the floor joist. So as I work my way down with the double top plate, and I'm kind of pulling it, you can see how I'm pulling it straight. Kyle just knows to stay ahead, take the measurement that I'm gonna need. You can see the order now. Now that the big parallel walls are done, now I have a better reference point to do these little interior shear walls that align with shear walls above on the floor. So yeah, it is a little complicated to be the foundation slash framer, but then again, it's a lot easier to be the foundation framer because we're taking care of all of that. Those walls, by the way, are going to get sheeted. For those of you eagle-eyed, astute observers, you have probably figured out that we're framing 24 inches on center. We have been framing 24 on center, which is a form of advanced framing or optimum value engineering. If you Google OVE framing, you'll find it. It's been around for many, many years. We learned about it in construction class back in the mid-90s. And at that point, it was already like 30 years old. Anyway, you cannot tell that this is 24 on center when all the finishes are in, but it is a whole lot easier to get in and out between those pony walls. All of the studs, by the way, are gonna align, so it's a straight shot through for any of the trades like the plumbers or the insulators. Oh, and by the way, I should mention, because we get wet, there's no vapor barrier on the ground, and you'll notice that we sheet the floor before there's any insulation or plumbing in. That's the standard here. Way back in the 80s, my dad said when they first started, they would go, hey, let's be smart and put the vapor barrier down now. Then it would rain and then it would be a puddle and you'd have to pump out the water and dry it all out. So once the roof is on, that's when insulation and vapor barrier goes down. But anyway, back to the 24-inch on center. It means a little less wood in the house without a loss of strength or performance. But a big part of that is then all of your loads need to trace, and your rafters, floor joists, studs, pony wall studs, all of that needs to align. Kyle, would you say that I'm like 12 feet in the air?
Yeah, I would say at least.
At least 12 feet?
Yeah.
And we can base that off of that 4-foot sheet of zip on its side. Boom. So even though our mudsill was set to a snap line, I always like to go through and snap layout. Then we'll pull our joist spacing all the way across the floor. If there's any variations, we just reset. Everybody, I just came in late because I had a dermatologist appointment. He said I look amazing for a construction worker. No joke. So wear your hats and sunscreen. But anyway, check out what Kyle got done. He got like the whole floor framed, and it's only not even 10 o'clock.
That's what happens, dude.
And Shane didn't help?
That's what happens when wearing badgers.
Shane would have probably made you go even slower.
Oh, Shane was here for a little bit.
I was taught that the fastest way to block, and we've tried all these different methods, this really is the most efficient, is to pre-cut all of your blocks, go put them all in place. Notice how they're all leaning in the same direction like dominoes. Then go through and knock in all of your blocks. In this case, I'm aligned with the back of that pony wall. You can snap a line, whatever you want to do. I probably did snap a line just to make it look straight. As I get older, it's a little harder for me to keep this stuff straight. Anyway, get on the joists with nothing but your hammer and nail bags, go through and knock them all into place and align them. Then grab your nail gun and come back and nail them all at once. It's a lot less back and forth movement. You just keep moving in the same direction, and that's how you gain the efficiency. Whenever somebody doesn't believe me, then I challenge them to a race. And even though I'm twice Shane's age, I'm 10 times faster. Do the math. There is the bird's eye view, or the drone's eye view, get it? Of the floor completely framed and 100% ready to get subfloor. You might notice there's a couple of sections where we added some joist, and that just has to do with the tile backer. It's the master bath and utility room. The extra 24-inch on center, depending on your sheathing thickness, can affect the tile backer requirements, so we add a few extra joists. Time to sheathe the floor. Kyle started that day out somewhere else, so Shane and I got the first 2 rows on. And now it is pure production. Turn up the music, everybody knows their job. This floor went a little slower because I was testing the Strong Tie Quick Drive versus the Fasten Master PAMFast versus the Pass Load Tetra Grip. But you can see that video in my feed comparing the best methods for fastening subfloor. What I'm going to show off here, yes, no bending over to pick up that beater board. Thanks to the guy, can't remember who you are, but thank you. It was here on YouTube, the opposite of a troll. He's like, hey, to avoid bending over, why don't you just scab on a 2x6 or 2x4? And I was like, why don't we? How come I never thought of that in 20 years of, well, 25 years of doing this? Anyway, don't bend over, guys. Just scab on a piece of 2x6 to your beater board. Work harder. No, work smarter, not harder. Yeah, work smarter, not harder. I think as framers, sometimes we might do it the opposite. I'll put the link in the description below, but did you see how the cage on the forklift tilted 90 degrees? Rotate. Actually, it swings 180, 90 each way, off of straight forward. Man, has that been a nice feature. And there you have it. The floor is sheathed. We are ready for some wall framing. Thank you, guys. Please feel free to ask questions in the description. I appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell all your friends how cool this channel is. You don't even have to believe it, just tell them.